Hi, I'm Dawn with Sunkissed Charters. Come and sail with us on a 37-foot endeavor out in the Gulf of Mexico. Up to 6 people, $100 an hour, 3-hour minimum. You can split it between each other. Pet friendly, bring your own food, drinks, restrooms on board. Make it a memory maker. Call 727-871-7788 or call 727-315-4936. SunkissedCharters.com. We'll see you out at the Gulf of Mexico.
Join the Tampa St. Pete Sports Connection live from Ferg Sports Bar and Grill every Saturday from noon to 2 as we cover Tampa Bay sports, from the Pee-wees to the preps to the pros, providing a positive perspective in our weekly interviews with NFL alumni and Florida Sports Hall of Fame inductees, as well as collegiate, high school, youth coaches and players, conversations from the clubhouse, as well as entertaining guests weekly. So be sure to have a championship day with the Tampa St. Pete Sports Connection Saturdays from 12 to 2 on the Tan Talk family of stations.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hi! This is Patsy with a Z. Welcome to Joy on Paper, a program for writers and those who dream of writing, and for everyone who wants to know the story behind the book. Coming to you from glorious Clearwater, Florida, the perfect place for writers to write and readers to enjoy a good book. And boy, do I have a great book for all of you today. Oh, I am so happy to welcome to Joy on Paper, Joe Yogerst. My goodness, Joe is so busy all the time. He's writing and writing and writing. And the new book is 100 Trails, 5,000 Ideas, Where to Go, When to Go, What to See, and What to Do. Hey, Joe, how are you?
I'm okay, Patsy. Good to be with you again.
Oh, it's always good to be with you. I love your books. I think, how many have you written for Nat Geo alone? I think this is 34, 35?
It's somewhere between 40 and 50 books that I've worked on now.
Oh, my goodness, 40 or... you are one lucky guy, I tell you.
I definitely feel that way. I do feel blessed to work for them. So.
Oh, I cannot think of anything more fun than to work for them, because you get to do what you love and write about what you love, and you do it so beautifully.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the new one has us on some trails. This is an exciting book, and it comes out just at the right time. The weather's going to start, well, up north. Eventually the snow is going to melt. Some people, my brother's in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Oh boy! Well, yes, he's got some winter left.
He does. Unfortunately, he just had like 4 feet of snow on his roof, so he's not hiking right now. Maybe on snowshoes. He does like to go out in the snow, but this one is so exciting. Now, there's 100 trails in this book. Have you done all of them yourself?
I have tried to do at least a little bit of each of them.
Wow.
It would be impossible to have done all of them. For instance, the Trans-Canada Trail, which is the longest one in the book, takes between 6 and 10 years to finish.
Okay. I don't
so
think
I've done little bits and pieces of that, but I have not spent 10 years hiking the whole thing.
No, I think that is definitely a little bit long, but there are a lot that are not quite so long. Some that are very easy to get to, and then some that are more remote. So tell us some of your favorite ones.
Well, the first big trail that I took on when I was 19 was the Grand Canyon, down to the bottom, camping, sleeping out under the stars, and then hiking out again. And so that was really my first big trail, kind of famous one that I took on. And back in those days, I was a novice hiker. So I did it in, I think it was those white Adidas tennis shoes that everyone used to wear back in those days. And an old Army surplus backpack and a ratty old sleeping bag from my Boy Scout days. And it was in July, and it was about 110 at the bottom. So I learned a lot of lessons on that one short hike about what to do and what not to do. But I started with the Grand Canyon, and then I did a lot of hiking in national parks around the same time, Bryce Canyon, Zion, Yosemite, Sequoia, even Death Valley. So I really started out on those national park trails in the West, and those are still some of my favorite because I often return back and do some of them over again.
Well, of course, like the Yosemite one, I've done it many times, and it's always new and exciting. You always see something different, and you see something with a different light. Sometimes the sky will be so different. It's so exciting to be on that trail.
Yes. Well, and I just have, again, memories of being young and not such a knowledgeable hiker. So getting, on the John Muir Trail in Yosemite, I went with two friends, and after college, and it only lasted one night because a bear stole all of our food. I've always called it the kamikaze bear because we did what you were supposed to, which is put your food in a backpack up in a tree and put it out on a branch. But this bear was willing to crawl out on that branch and actually have it break and plunge about 20, 25 feet to the ground, and didn't hurt him at all. He just ripped right through that backpack and stole everything, including our toothpaste.
Well, he was one determined bear.
Yeah.
Oh boy, did you get a picture of that?
Well, no, because every time we stuck our head out of the tent, it growled at us, turned around and growled at us. So no.
Yeah. Oh, and those were the days before you needed a camera. Now you have a cell phone. So.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good one. So have you had other adventures on your hikes?
I've had different kinds of adventures. We decided, even though it's a U.S.-Canada book, there are some very short chapters in between about international hikes. And I haven't done nearly all of those because they're all over the world, and there's 10 in each continent. But I've done a couple of those, like Mount Kilimanjaro, which I did in Africa, and another trail, the Tsitsikamma Trail in South Africa, which I backpacked alone for a week in the African bush. And so that was interesting because I had to cross. It was kind of the rainy season, and the rivers were overflowing, and to hike the trail, I had to wade through water up to my chest in some places. Luckily, it wasn't too free-flowing. And anything could have happened to me out there. My parents and, my girlfriend and my friends had no idea where I was, and I could have disappeared, and the body would have never been found. And it's not something I would do again.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you look back and you say, oh, boy, I was a little bit crazy back then.
Well, they always say that you feel like nothing can hurt you in your 20s, and I kind of felt that way hiking in my 20s. And,
yeah.
So I passed it down to my kids who are now hiking in their 20s and doing things like hiking at night and through the Utah desert and things. So they've kind of picked up the hiking craziness too. Okay,
well, hopefully they have cell phones nowadays.
Well, yes, they have cell phones and GPS, and they have All Trails, which is a marvelous app for anyone who hikes. I just swear by it, and my kids swear by it. And I mentioned it in the foreword to the book, how important that was to me as a hiker and also putting together the book.
That's the fun thing that, when you are putting together a book and you can relate it to not just your adventures, but also now with your kids. And I was the same way when I was very young. I was off on my own all the time, taking in strange countries, taking buses by myself, going here by myself. And I was a girl, and I wasn't afraid at all in those days. Now,
yeah, that's the kind of stuff I did. I mean, I've hitchhiked in some very strange places where I would never recommend that anyone hitchhike now, but I didn't feel like anything was going to happen, and nothing did. So.
Yeah, and I did the same thing. I was in the Middle East. I would get on just local buses. I like to be with the people, with the real people. And you look back and you think, oh my goodness, but we survived it, and we're here, and now we have this wonderful opportunity to try some really fun trails here. As you said, most of them are here in the United States. Yeah. And I just... I think it's so wonderful to get out there and to hike and when I was traveling, and I did a lot of hiking when I was young, I always had these little tiny books that I used to carry. They're olden day books, novels, but they published them at really small for ladies to keep in their purses. And so I'd always have these books, and I would be traveling with these books. So wherever I go, I could stop, next to a waterfall. I could sit on a stone and I could read. And I think when you're out there, if you do that, there's nothing as much fun as doing something like that, where you're really away from everything, but you can still maybe read your favorite poet, or you can read your favorite, writer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it adds to a lot of what some people in the past call perfect moments, where you're alone in the wilderness and all at once you feel very small in nature and also kind of large in yourself because you're the only person out there. And there are these little, I'm sure you've had them, these little perfect moments, sometimes at sunset or sunrise, and up on a high bluff looking out over the landscape or next to a lake. And you just sit there and think, how lucky am I that I'm able to be here?
Oh, so true. So true. And of course, with you have all of this wonderful ability to write about what you see. And then, of course, you're a photographer. So, it must be so exciting when you get out there. You're like itching to capture everything.
Yeah, the kind of the thrill of discovering new places has never faded. The thrill of traveling on airplanes has faded.
Oh.
long ago.
Oh yeah.
And the thrill of passing through airports. I don't know if there ever was a thrill about passing through airports, but when I still like driving places. If I can drive to a place rather than fly, I prefer that. And once I arrive, it's still the same thrill that I got when I was 19 or 20 and discovering places for the first time. That has never ever faded. That thrill of discovery.
Well, don't even mention airplanes. When you think back of when we used to fly TWA or Pan Am, and the service was so great, we looked forward to it. Those days are gone, unless we're very wealthy. But it is. But to be out there, as you said, to be out there on your own, or with someone you love who doesn't talk too much. One of the things that I did one time take a hike with my girlfriend, Franny. Now, I love that girl. She was so sweet, and we loved to go do things together. But I took one hike with her, and I never would hike with that girl again because, I'm sure there were birds chirping, and I'm sure there were, I never heard anything but her voice for 3 days. That was the end of that. That's okay if you're sitting in a cafe in Paris, but you do not want to do that. I
don't even know if it's okay in a cafe in Paris. So,
well, she was very observant. She could, she recognized everybody famous, and it was really nice. But so when you're talking about some of the hikes, what about you did all 50 states, and boy oh boy, Hawaii is one state. I have not been to Hawaii. I never wanted to go there. It's strange. I don't know why. It never occurred to me to go there. but did you do Hawaii?
Why? Oh yeah. I actually think Hawaii is overrated in some ways and underrated in other ways. And I think it's underrated for nature. And there are some great trails there, and that are both short and long. Haleakala, which is the national park and the big volcano on Maui, has a marvelous multi-day trail. People usually do it in 2 or 3 days. That goes down from the top of the mountain down into the crater and through a gap in the backside and down through the jungle, and it ends in the Pacific Ocean. And it's an incredible trail that not a lot of people take because it is multi-day and you have to sleep in a tent, or there's one little kind of ranger rest house that you can stay in. And but up on the rim where everyone tends to go because you can drive up there, there's some great trails around the rim that you can take to look down into this huge bowl in the ground that was once full of molten lava. And there's a lot of trails like that in Hawaii, little ones that lead to waterfalls and bigger ones that go up mountains. And I think it's a great state for hiking. And then there's the famous trail, of course, along the Nepali coast, which is the north side of Kauai, which you can do as a multi-day trail, and you can camp along the way on these little kind of agricultural terraces that were built by ancient Hawaiians, and or you can do it as a single day to the first beach and then back. And it's so the north side of Kauai is an amazing place to hike in Hawaii. Again, it's pure nature. There's no hotels, there's no roads, there's no nothing out there.
Well, that's what when I was reading what you wrote there, that's really for the first time I thought, maybe I will take a trip to Hawaii, because I think one of the things when you see all those hotels and all those crowded beaches, and it was not something that ever interested me. But when I was reading about these trails, I thought, whoa, now that's the kind of thing I can do. And I do love sleeping in a tent. I really do. We went through a lot of Boy Scouting years, so
yes.
So
I went through a lot of Boy Scouting years.
Oh, so I've spent a lot of nights in tents all over the place.
I figure I've spent about a year and a half of my life sleeping in tents.
I love it. I love it. Now, I don't know if I'd want to know that there is a bear climbing on a branch over my head. You're lucky that it wasn't like really over your head and just he fell right on you.
Oh, yeah. Yes, exactly. I don't think we were that naive at that point in time to put it right over our tent, but it was close enough.
that would be pretty shocking. That'd be pretty shocking. Now, what about here in Florida? Do you like hiking in Florida? Florida's a great place.
Well, you've got two kind of epic trails there. You have the Florida Keys Overseas Heritage Trail, which basically is follows the highway, the Overseas Highway to Key West. But they're building, there's a trail that you can bike or hike that's right next to it, which if you've driven down to Key West, I'm sure you've seen the trail mostly over to the right side of the road, and it crosses some of the older bridges that cars don't take anymore. That's a great trail with a number of state parks along the way where you can camp overnight, including John Penny Camp, which I think has the best snorkeling and scuba in the mainland U.S. because the reef there is just unbelievable. And then there's the Florida Trail, which is this really epic hike that goes all the way from, depends on where you start, but it goes from the top end of Everglades National Park all the way to Pensacola. Up through the middle of the peninsula and then over along the Big Bend region. And that's I think it's 1,000 miles altogether. But that's one of the great long distance. Yeah, it's 1,500 miles. It's one of the great long distance state trails in the United States. It's the Florida Trail. And because Florida is so flat, it's a pretty flat trail too for those who don't like hiking uphill.
Yeah, you don't. There are some states where so it seems to be all uphill.
Yes. Well, and with both of the Florida trails, summer is not the time to do them because of the kind of the hot, steamy weather, and you don't necessarily want to do them in the fall either because that's hurricane season. But they're kind of perfect winter trails, and I think perfect spring trails, both of them.
Yeah, I think winter is actually really the best. And although I in one in the Key West, going to the Key West, there's no way I would be sleeping in a tent anywhere.
No, not in Key West.
No, I mean, see, even on the trail there, you're just recently here. Oh. We're in Clearwater, Florida, and recently here we had this big alligator come along. I don't know how it came, where it came from, and just not too far from me. And I thought, okay. And I still, when I used to park in a open driveway kind of thing, I used to look under my car to see if there was an alligator. So some places you don't want to sleep outside, but most places, and in northern Michigan, is a place that you want to go on a trail and you want to sleep outside in the summer.
Yes, but you don't have to worry about alligators up there.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Porcupines. We do have a lot of porcupines.
Well, yes, bears and maybe wolves and some other things, but there's not a lot of. That's a totally different experience hiking in the North Woods in Maine or Minnesota, Michigan, those states, and it's kind of a throwback to the olden days when people got through those areas in birch bark canoes or overland on foot, and it always reminds me of either Native Americans who went through those areas, or the early French and English and American explorers who went through those areas. That to me is kind of a throwback because I grew up in Southern California. My mother was from Arizona, so I spent a lot of time in the desert. So going to the North Woods is a totally different world to me, even more different than going to Florida.
Well, the book is fantastic. As you right here, 100 trails, 5,000 ideas, and you have ideas. And I love, of course, naturally with Nat Geo, you have gorgeous photography. You have all these wonderful little sections where you write about, exactly where to go, what to do, what to see. Everything is laid out so perfectly. It's a fun read. You can get this book, and you will literally spend hours just going through the book. And maybe you're only dreaming right now about going on a hike, but it will inspire you because, as I said, I was never thinking of going to Hawaii until I read about the trails in Hawaii. So it will inspire you. Get out there with yourself, with your family, with your friends who don't talk too much, and find a trail. Find a trail where you can enjoy nature, enjoy getting away really from technology for a while. There is nothing better than that. I was raised in the woods, and my whole childhood was spent running the trails in northern Michigan, Copper Country. That's where I'm from, in northern Michigan. And I used to just run wild. My whole childhood was hiking a trail.
So you're a Youper?
Oh, yeah. Oh. Have you heard about us? You know that we're very witty, we're very wise, and we're always, we're considered, really, really brilliant people.
But a little wild.
A little wild. And, we make great pasties, and we have wonderful, wonderful blueberries. So, but I don't want any Youper jokes. I'm not going to do that, the thing where I'm always making jokes about Youpers, because we are really, we're very special people. Okay.
Well, you need to hike the North Country Trail, which goes right through the middle of the Upper Peninsula. Not the whole thing, no. The whole thing goes from North Dakota to Maine, so I don't know if you want to do that, but just to do the Upper Peninsula part in Michigan would be, along Lake Superior would be a great thing.
It is. It's so beautiful there. Well, I want to thank you, Joe. As always, I love talking to you. I love your books. My goodness, so many now for Nat Geo. You keep going and going, and it's just wonderful. And I thank you so much for being on Joy on Paper today. So people, you want them to go to, of course, Nat Geo books, their website.
You can go to, you can find it on Amazon Books or BarnesandNoble.com. You can find it on Disney Books, because Disney, of course, is the parent company of National Geographic. You can find it on Nat Geo Books, and you can find it on my website. There's a lot of different places.
And what is your website?
Your local independent bookstore, because I always like to plug those.
Exactly. And they carry this book. I'm sure they carry this book, because this is going to be a book that people will want, as now that the pandemic's over and they can get out there. I think a lot of people this summer are really, in spring and starting in the spring, just want to get out there and get some fresh air. Right?
Yes, exactly. Or if you're in Florida, you can do it right now.
Exactly. Well, Joe, thank you so much. It's always fun to talk to you. I think you're so amazing, and your life is so interesting. And as a matter of fact, people go to his website. You can find out more about Joe. It's Joe Yogerst, and spelled with Yogerst, Yogerst. And find out more about Joe and get more of his books, because he's got a ton of them, right?
More on the way.
More on the way. And you'll be back here soon. Again, thanks so much, Joe, for being on Joy on Paper today. You're always a joy. It's just, I love to think of how much fun you're having. When some people say they have a job and they're working, you're doing that, but you're also having fun.
Well, thanks, Patsy, for having me on again. I really appreciate it. It's always fun.
Okay. Bye-bye now. Bye, Joe.
All right. Bye-bye.
Oh, I love Joe Yogerst. He's so super. Okay, we're going to do Book Buzz from Bria Burton. And then after that, we'll have commercials, and then I'll be back.
Hello, fellow sci-fi readers. This is author Bria Burton reporting for Joy on Paper with your science fiction book buzz. Today's communique to galaxies near and far includes a 2021 release from a best-selling author, Fated Blades by Ilona Andrews. The USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling novella is available in print, ebook, and audiobook with stellar narration by Aaron Shedlock. Now, let's download the book buzz. In a distant galaxy, sworn enemies Matthias Bayanis and Ramona Adler are the heads of their respective kinsman families, both genetically enhanced Sakare, which means they're each as lethal as their ancestors, who feuded to the point of near annihilation over a century prior. The conflict trickled into the present, a kind of Cold War space race between the ruling families on planet Rada, all vying to adapt a coveted tech related to the bioengineered swords and shields that emerge from beneath a Sakare's skin. A data breach in both families leads to their unlikely alliance and sends Ramona and Matthias on a secret quest to recover what was stolen. If they can defeat their mutual enemies, can anything stop them from taking out each other? This sizzling, page-turning science fiction romance with overtones of Romeo and Juliet fires off like a rocket and leaves the reader breathless. Author Ilona Andrews is the pseudonym for dynamic duo Ilona and Gordon, who have been married for almost 3 decades and have teamed up as writers for nearly 2 decades, co-authoring several best-selling novel series, including the #1 New York Times best-selling Kate Daniels series. They currently reside in Texas with their 2 children and many dogs and cats. This is Bria Burton with your futuristic fiction fix, signing off.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Are you ready to eliminate your home energy bill? Well, get ready to harness the sun. Go EHS, Effective Solar Solutions by Efficient Home Services. With no upfront costs, you can save money on your utility bill and even eliminate your electric bill altogether with EHS Solar. Call EHS, the #1 solar installer nationwide. We know how to customize your home. EHS handles every project in-house with no subcontractors. Remember, no upfront costs, tax breaks, and the best company in the business, Efficient Home Services. Schedule an appointment today at 727-353-3757. Visit our website and download your free buyer's guide to going solar at www.goehs.com. Go solar, go savings, go EHS. Call 727-353-3757 today to talk to our experts.
Are you an author, an artist, an inventor? Then you need to protect your valuable intellectual property. You need Larson & Larson. We have the experience and knowledge to help you with all of your legal needs, from processing trademark, copyright, or patent applications to negotiating licensing agreements and handling litigation. The attorneys at Larson & Larson in Largo, Florida can help protect you. Call us today for a no-cost consultation at 727-546-0660 or visit our website at larsonpatentlaw.com.
Do you dread being called on to speak at meetings or family functions? Have you envied those who can sway an audience with well-chosen words? Do you know that people who speak well earn more money, earn more rewarding careers? Gain the confidence to master any speaking situation. Toastmasters will allow you to find your voice. Go to toastmasters.org to locate the club nearest you.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Patsy with a Z. Welcome back to Joy on Paper. I'm just waiting for my next caller, and she's going to be calling in a few minutes. And this is always exciting for me because I love talking to anybody who writes books with and for Rick Riordan. And it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful, he is so wonderful. If you have not, well, I think everybody's read Rick Riordan. What's so wonderful about him since he started writing books for children, he has really changed the outlook for books with diverse nationalities, diverse people. It is so wonderful what he has done to open up the market, really, in a way that was not open before. And so I'm going to talk in a little while to Stacy Lee, and her book is another one in his very big range of diverse books. And I hope that she's going to be calling in a few minutes, because I've been waiting very anxiously for her. And she has a wonderful, wonderful book, and it's called Winston Chu versus the Whimsies. So I don't know why she's not calling in, but we will hope any minute. If not, we have a call-in number to check on her, but we'll wait for a few minutes. Meanwhile, I want to just talk again about Bria Burton. Thank you again, Bria, for guest hosting Joy on Paper a week ago. It was wonderful. Everybody loved it. And of course, one of the things that happens when you are guest hosting, you get a response from the listeners. And I had so many nice comments coming in from my listeners about Bria. Jim Lamb, who also does the Literary Gems for Joy on Paper, is really great. He had so many compliments for Bria, saying what a great job she did. And I was very, very proud to say that I really, from the moment she came first to the studio to talk about her own books, because she is a fine writer, and she has quite a number of books that you really have to go and check her website. It's Bria Burton. But the minute she sat down here, it's just like what happened with Devon Miller. He also came in to promote his books, Mr. Tickety Clock series. Well, the minute I heard its voice and I saw his personality, cheerful and somebody who loves books, I said to myself, well, Devon has to come to Joy on Paper and join me. And the same with Bria Burton. And so I was so happy that Bria had a chance. And I know she's going to come back. We're going to arrange something, perhaps in July or August, and she'll come back and do it again. So meanwhile, while we're just waiting, I think Big Ed is looking for my next guest. I don't know. Do you want to play a little bit of a song or something? Do you have, how about Boxcar? Do you have that loaded up? I always love to listen to Boxcar, because I have all these images when it's just so wonderful when a song just evokes pictures and in your head. And so if Big Ed can find that one, we'll play it and we'll wait. Oh, no. Okay, we don't have to, because it's okay. Stacy is going to be on in a few minutes. I'm so happy because I'm really excited about this book. I think it's a fantastic book. And I love Rick Riordan, the way he has pulled together a diverse range of authors to talk about and write about mythology of different cultures. That's just fantastic. And so I think we're going to have Stacy in a minute, and we will talk to her, because she is she's a New York Times best-selling author. She wrote The Luck of the Titanic, which is a wonderful book, and it received 5 starred reviews. Now that's a lot of starred reviews to get from all sorts of different organizations that review books, and to get 5 of them. Wow. So it's always exciting to talk to an author who is so very important, actually, to the industry, because she is the founder of the We Need Diverse Books movement. And she certainly has done a great job with her books, and about, in her case, it's Chinese American, but she has promoted other books along with Rick, of all the different cultures. And so I just love to be able to help promote these books. For these are middle grade books, but whether it's picture books or young adult books, we need a diverse range of authors and a diverse range of cultures because that's what we are. This is a country of diversity, and we have to champion that, and we have to honor that, and we have to find. It's just fun. It's just fun to know about other cultures. Sometimes we know some of the mythology of a country, but each country has their own special type of mythology, whether it's Africa or Thailand or and everywhere around the world, people have different mythology. But it's interesting how close so many of the different cultures are. So is Stacy on right now? Oh, she's
Hi.
Stacy, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, good. Well, I'm so glad that you're on. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Okay. Well, I've been really looking forward to having you on because I love this book, Winston, Chew, and the Whimsies. Woo!
Thank you so much.
Isn't it fantastic?
It was fun to write.
And I want to tell everybody the cover of the book is so great. I love it. I think it's terrific.
Thank you. I love the cover too. It came out just the way I wanted it to. So I'm very, very honored.
Well, while I was waiting for you, I was telling my listeners, of course, that you are the founder of the We Need Diverse Books. And this book, of course, is celebrating Chinese mythology. So tell us about this book. I love, one of the things I think everybody relates to, and it's so funny that when you wrote this book that you included a cooking academy. Everybody has this dream of going to a cooking academy. So tell us about Winston Chew.
Yeah, so Winston, now that makes me think, do I have a dream of, I must have a dream of going to a cooking academy if I wrote about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe somebody would want to go to a cooking academy. So Winston Chew actually is at the cooking academy because his mother knows that he has a little bit of an impulse problem. And he's hoping that the cooking academy will help him to be more thoughtful about his actions. You have to be precise when measuring ingredients. You can't be impulsive in a kitchen, right? Where there's stoves and ovens. So he ends up baking a cake that he wants to bring his mother for the death anniversary, is what he calls it, which is the anniversary of his father's death, who died 3 years ago. And he decides, because he's a little impulsive, that he's going to skateboard home with this pie. And the pie ends up accidentally, or not, pieing some would-be criminals in the face. And the owner of the store, which he never noticed before, comes out, and to reward him for saving his store from being broken into, he allows Winston to choose one of the magical items on the shelf called Whimsies. And this is like every kid's dream, I think, wish fulfillment, right? To be able to choose any magical item on the shelf. There are things like flying piñatas or fuzzy ukuleles, which put everyone in a good mood. But because he's impulsive, he ends up choosing a broomstick, which is a really old and dirty broomstick. But at least it comes with a free dustpan. And then it starts stealing his stuff, including his baby sister. Period.
Well, I thought the idea was so clever. And, when I said it's everybody's dream, you watch all these cooking shows and contest shows, cupcake baking shows, people win, money. And when I got the urge was years ago when I first saw the first Sabrina, where she goes to Paris. and she, goes to a cooking school. And of course, exactly what you said, you have to learn how to break that egg correctly. And you have to really be careful if you want that souffle to rise.
Absolutely.
I thought it was perfect for Winston.
Yeah, I think, the thing with impulsivity is it's something that you develop. I mean, you learn with age not to be so impulsive, I think. That's something you can grow out of. But there's also some good points to being impulsive, too. I mean, I based this story on my son, actually. And he doesn't want people to know that. So
we won't tell
right up front in the dedication.
We won't tell anybody.
To Bennett, this story is not about you. Okay. But having said that, it is about my son, who always is on the go, was a very impulsive child, really could not understand the idea of look before you touch, touch with your eyes and not your hands. But that same impulsiveness that he has really makes him a good soccer player. To be honest, he's a great soccer player. And I think it's because he's not afraid to leap when he needs to leap. So there can be good things.
Well, there's so much in this book that I think, well, of course, it's for middle grade. I think any adult will get a kick out of it. Listen, parents, get this book for your kid and then sneak it out, sneak it away. And read it, because it puts a smile on your face.
Thank you. I do myself love reading middle grade. I love middle grade fiction. I just love the humor in it. I love all the, they're not afraid. Those books are not afraid to be ridiculous. And I love that. The whimsical and the ridiculous, that's me. So it was fun to write and hopefully fun to listen to. The audiobook, I was just listening to it, and the narrator is just, he's awesome. He brings the funniest touches to all the voices. So I find middle grade completely entertaining.
Well, and that's from somebody who is a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
So you came along as a very serious writer, a very serious person, a lawyer, and now you're writing very funny, very silly middle grade, which is so joyful.
I don't know if I was ever serious enough to be a lawyer. I don't know. I feel like law was something I did because I needed a profession that would pay the bills, and it certainly paid the bills. I think though law was not really a natural fit with me in many ways. I'm someone who very much cares about, harmony, people getting along, and peace, and non-confrontational, completely non-confrontational. But when you're a lawyer, you have to be someone's advocate, right? And sometimes that does not, non-confrontational person does not work in that profession. So as far as I think, that part of me that always wanted to write eventually made itself known. I was always writing ever since I was a kid. So that was just something I truly just love to do. And, you can only stifle things like that for so long. So for me, after I was able to get a solid start in life and make some money, and then I was able to take some time off and really dedicate myself to writing, which is really what I love to do.
Well, you broke loose and you blossomed.
I broke loose. Exactly.
And blossomed, because
thank you.
You really I just get a kick out of you. I think you're so terrific. And I do love, of course, this is diverse voices, and you're Chinese American, but I mean, I like, the idea of all of this diversity, because it was always seemed natural to me. I always wanted to know about diverse voices. I always wanted to hear stories from other countries and mythology from other countries. This is part of the joy of living, to learn about other cultures. And that's why I think when I was very young, I determined that I was going to travel all over the world, and I did because I wanted to know more.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate that you say that because, I mean, so much of the conversation from my perspective is not seeing enough of people like me on bookshelves and feeling like there was a space missing, that our bookshelves just did not represent our communities. And that became even more important when I started having kids. But I think the other side is that for the kids of the majority, they don't get to learn about other cultures, and that can lead to like stereotypes about it. But, learning about other cultures is how we learn that we have actually so much more in common than we think we do with these other cultures. So thank you for saying that.
The funny thing is, particularly I have to, this might not be, I don't know where she stands now, Pearl S. Buck, in, politically correctness of writing about Chinese, but she loved China. And when I read her, I was obsessed with her books when I was young. I'm talking 12, 13, 14. And to tell you the truth, I wanted to be Chinese.
Oh, wow.
There I was, blonde with braids in northern Michigan, and I dreamt about being Chinese. I wanted to be Chinese.
Wow. My dad was a big reader of Pearl S. Buck, too. I mean, the first book that I ever saw myself in was The Five Chinese Brothers. And that is, now we look on that book and realize how problematic it is. It contains like pretty gross stereotypes. And it's written by Claire Hutchett Bishop, I think, and illustrated by Kurt Sweet. And, when I saw that book, I was like, man, there are Chinese people in this story. This is like the coolest thing ever. I love that book. I took it home. I might have even tried to steal it by writing my name inside the cover, hoping the librarians wouldn't notice, that, or maybe think, oh, this book doesn't belong to us. It belongs to someone named Stacey. But I really love that book. And that just shows you, the importance of you seeing yourself, even though it was a problematic book. It's the only book I had, and I really, really loved it.
Well, I think you've done just a marvelous job with all of your writing. You are, when you first got your first starred review, what was your first starred review for? It
was for The Sky, which was my first book, and that was the book that was probably definitely the hardest to get published. That was a book where I wrote the manuscript. I got my agent. My agent said, Stacey, this is going to be an uphill climb. I just need to let you know this up front. This is going to be really hard to get this sold because it's not what publishing was looking for. But it was a story she felt should be told. So she was willing to give it a shot. And we submitted it to like 29 publishers before the last one was like, we're going to give this a shot. And so that was back in 2013, I want to say, and it was published in 2015. And I don't think publishing really knew what to do with this book. But that was my first star review. I really appreciated that. And I still, Under a Painted Sky is still the title that gets me the most emails.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, it's a great book. You're a great writer. And now you're with Rick Riordan. And Rick Riordan, isn't he wonderful?
He's wonderful. He's wonderful in that he has used his power. He's magical to my kids. My kids grew up with him. They love Percy Jackson books. And I'm now elevated in their opinion because now I write these books with his imprint. But he's just so supportive of writers, the writers of color, the writing community. What he's doing is a fabulous thing. Yeah.
Well, everybody really get this book. It is called Winston Chu and the Whimsies. It is a fun book. And I'm telling you, if for every kid in your life, get this book, get it to them now, and then sneak it and read it for yourself. But, if you don't have a kid in your life, there are children in hospitals, in a hospital near you, a children's hospital, or in Shands, or in one of the other Shriners and in St. Jude. They need books. Just order one online and send it to a hospital near you, because it is so important. Children need books, and boy, oh boy, a kid getting this book, although if they have stitches and they're laughing their heads off, I don't know if that's good, but they will. They will love this book. It's a wonderful. And Stacy, you are just wonderful. You are. I think all of that joy and love that you have for kids and for people and for life shine through in your books. They are really great, and I'm so happy that you were on Joy on Paper today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciated talking with you, Joy.
Okay, bye-bye now. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody, it's online, and you can also check out her website, Stacey Lee, at Stacey with a E, so Stacey, Stacey Lee, and she's funny. She's just funny. The books are great, and I just love it. As I said, Helen Cresswell wrote middle grade books, and I still read those. At least once a month, I will read a Helen Cresswell book. There was a Bagthorpe series, and I love those books written by a British author. She's long gone, but her books live on. And if you want a really funny series, that's another series to get. It's called The Bagthorpes. But this one, Winston Chu and the Whimsies, it's funny, it's great, and I hope that you will get it. If you have any kid in your life, they will love it. It's really funny. And again, thank you so much to Rick Riordan for sending it to me, because he is so great. And as she said, Percy Jackson, well, so many kids grew up on Percy Jackson, and that's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to do, to read a book and to laugh your head off once in a while. Or as a matter of fact, take one of these books with you when you go on a trail, on a hike somewhere, because get Joe Yoger's book. It's a wonderful, wonderful, to get out there in the fresh air and away from, oh, goodness gracious, get away from the news, get away from television, get away from all your devices, just relax and forget everything else and listen to the birds and hope that a bear doesn't fall down from a branch. You never know. Anyway, I just, again, want to remind everyone, Bill Larson's going to be here 2 weeks. Please send me your intellectual property questions, because he is going to answer them, and we've got some really interesting ones coming up. Boy, oh boy, people do try to scam and cheat writers. So we want to remind you to be careful out there, and be careful what you say on the internet, and be careful what you write, because you never know when somebody is going to sue the pants off of you, literally. Because some people are going a little bit crazy, I can tell you. Anyway, I just want to say again, thank you so much. It's going to be the 8th anniversary of Joy on Paper next month, and I'm getting ready for that. And I look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions. Meanwhile, remember what I always tell you: one of the joys of life is to see your words on paper, to hear them in a audible book, or if you're very, very lucky, to hear those magic words, lights, camera, action, and your book will be turned into a major motion picture, a streaming video, or perhaps a series on the Hallmark Channel, like I am hoping for Carol J. Perry, especially her Haunted Haven series, which is set right here in our neighborhood in Florida, right here in St. Petersburg, I can tell you. And Babe Ruth is one of the ghosts, and I love Babe Ruth, so you never know. And meanwhile, say something nice to somebody. I will say something nice to Big Ed in the control room. Thank you, Big Ed. We got everything organized today, and we got Stacey Lee on, and do get her book. She's hilarious. And I said something nice to Big Ed. He saluted me. I saluted him. Everybody, I'm out of here. It's going to be a lovely, lovely weekend. Bye-bye now.